Hey everyone, it's David Paveo. I'm only a few weeks away before the debut of my second solo show, which is called Poster Child, How Charlie's Angels Kicked My Ass Out of the Closet, debuting at the Hollywood Fringe Festival. My first show is on June 7th at the Zephyr Theater. My producer and director, Jessica Lynn Johnson, thought it would be good for all of the people of whose shows she's helping develop if we recorded a little bit of advice for people that might be interested in doing a solo show. This is my fourth Fringe. The first two Fringes that I was involved in, I was merely cast in the project. I was not part of the creative team at all. The first one was an improv show that I took to New York, and the other one was a play that I was cast in that we went to Edinburgh. So those two experiences were completely different. For the Hollywood Fringe Festival, I wrote a solo show in 2024. Well, actually, I wrote it in 2020, performed it once for a festival in Sherman Oaks for Solo Fest at the Whitefire, and then the pandemic happened. So I put that script away for the better part of 3 years, and then I took it out towards the latter part of 2023, rewrote some of it, and it became a much stronger show. And then I performed it at the 2024 Hollywood Fringe. So now, 2 years later, for the 2026, I'm doing my second solo show. Both my first and second were autobiographical, but with very different themes. So that might be something that would be helpful for me to share with you, the process. The first one was basically a more serious subject. The first show, called Adventures in Caregiving, was all about my experience, a 12-year journey, taking care of 3 family members on hospice. But I peppered in a lot of humor, because you need humor to drive a show like that. And I mixed it in with a lot of serious scenes, but a lot of humor. This show, Poster Child, is my coming out journey, my coming out story, centered around when I was a teenager, not really sure what even gay meant in the mid to late 70s. I was obsessed with collecting all those female celebrity posters of the era, Charlie's Angels being the main ones that I collected, plus many others, and what my relationship to those posters was. And then, of course, you see the journey of me coming out and so on and so forth. I don't want to spoil anything, but it's a lot of fun. But the process was very different in writing that second show. I basically just started with, when did I get my first poster? And then what happened after that? How did the poster collection begin? As I went through my later teenage years, struggling with my sexuality, and the more posters I collected, it was sort of like my mask, if you will. But they really helped me in the long run, because they gave me an air of confidence. Those women were so strong-willed and independent that I fed off them in a way. Anyway, you'll see that in the show. And but the process was very different in writing that show. Again, I started with just the story of when I got my first poster, and then as the poster collection grew and grew and grew, and then what happened after that. The first show, Adventures in Caregiving, it was really just to get everything that I had been through out of my head and onto paper so I could release it, because it was such a serious subject matter and something that was traumatizing. I will use that word, not in a way that was going to cripple me emotionally, but it was still very traumatizing and hard to deal with when all the death and dying of my relatives was over, the ones that I cared for. So the process, again, very different, but I tend to write the same way. Get the story out on paper and write all the stories that you want to tell. Doesn't matter what order you're writing them in, just write them down. You can shuffle them around later, but just get them out, whether it's on a pad of paper, whether it's notes, note cards, or you're typing it from scratch on your computer. Just get the stories out, and then you can start to see the show develop from the stories. Themes will start to emerge. A title will then eventually come to you. Poster child was a no-brainer. We've all heard that expression that somebody's a poster child of something. So that was a no-brainer. Adventures in Caregiving, I had to kind of deal with a good title. And because I'm such a movie fan, I took the Adventures in Caregiving from Adventures in Babysitting and ran with that movie theme. As far as my writing style goes, I tend to write narration surrounded by scenes, and then I do flashbacks as well to help tell a story. And the flashbacks are very useful because you can use a flashback instead of narration. Scenes are also very helpful because you don't need to do a lot of narration, but you'll need narration sometimes to set up the scene. So it's a very different process on how I did both of those solo shows, but the way I write is really the same. A lot of people they won't do any narration. It'll just be all scene work, which is fine. And I wish I could do that, but I tend to talk a lot. So writing narration to set up a scene mixed in with flashbacks is really something that I think I'm pretty good at, I think. My first show, Adventures in Caregiving, I still have people that saw it back in 2020 when I did that one show at the Whitefire, and they'll tell me, or they saw it in 2024 at Fringe, and they say that it just stuck with them because they had been through the same type of experience. That's the other thing that you want to write on, is your own life experience. Doesn't matter if you think that anyone else can relate to it, they will, because we're all human beings, we're all cut from the same cloth, we all have the same shared life experiences. So write what your story is, and it will appeal to other people. As far as helpful hints that are just tangible things, and I learned this for this poster child, get a music stand so that when you're on your feet rehearsing, you don't have to have the script in your hand when you're still on book. The script is right in front of you on the stand and you can move it around. My music stand is literally right behind the camera right now with my script on it, and I'll be rehearsing the whole show tomorrow again. That way it's at eye level. You can move around, you can move the stand, pick it up easily when you need to change positions. Also, get yourself a 3-ring binder, and this will be your Fringe Bible. These are the types of headings you want to put in your 3-ring binder. A calendar, Fringe notes, things to do, that always is growing and changing. Venues, expenses. Keep track of your expenses. You're going to go over budget. It's just part of the nature. Don't let it upset you that you failed in some way. We all do. Ticketing, a page to write extra notes on, and then the names of your tabs for your team. I have a tab for my videographer. I have a tab for my graphic designer. I have a tab for my producer director. So keep a Bible with you, and also invest in a $25 music stand to help you rehearse when you're by yourself. Because let me tell you something. Solo theater is different than any other type of performing, and I've done them all. I've done plays for decades. I've done stand-up comedy for about 14 years here in LA. I did sketch comedy, studied at the Groundlings, and then I belonged to a sketch comedy troupe for many years. I do voice acting, and some TV and film, but mostly stage work. And they're all different, but you can pull from all of those to do solo theater because the principles are the same. But you just have to learn the techniques of doing solo work. So find a director, writing mentor that's familiar with the genre, and you'll be able to see that it's just just a little tweaking of the performing style, and then you'll be able to do it. That's really it. Just write. You will overwrite. You will absolutely overwrite. And then you will have to part with scenes if they don't fit anymore. And that's part of the process. There's a scene right now in my script. And I go on June 7th. And it's 2 pages. I'm probably going to cut it. You know, it's just because it doesn't need to be there anymore because it's not helping the story. I love it, but I think I'm going to cut it. So anyway, but overwrite, and then don't be afraid to cut material. And when you do that, your show becomes tighter, stronger, and the through line of action is more present when you really just get to the meat of what the show is about. So don't be afraid to do that. That's all I got. Good luck with your journey, and come see my show, Poster Child, How Charlie's Angels Kicked My Ass Out of the Closet. It's a lot of fun, a lot of multimedia happening. My posters may or may not talk to me. Who knows? I'm not going to tell you. But they might. Who knows? 4 shows at the Zephyr. First show is June 7th. Just go to hollywoodfringe.org and search Poster Child. Everything's right there. All right. Thank you. Good luck with your journey.